One of the most popular videos on my channel is my thorough review of the Line 6 UX2, which I bought and evaluated around 5 years ago. Since then, it has been my main method of recording for my small home studio, and it has shined brightest in my recent bass covers. I've also delved a little deeper into audio interfaces as well as USB versus FireWire, so be sure to check that video out. I've used the UX2 with various DAWs ranging from freeware such as Audacity all the way to Sony Acid, Pro Tools, Mixcraft, and Logic Pro. Line 6 is a well-known brand I trust, and my trust in them was a major reason why I purchased the UX2 years ago. To this day, the UX2 is available for purchase, and it's around the same price at which I bought it at, and it comes with most of the software that my unit came with, most importantly, PodFarm. What sets this interface apart from other interfaces at the price level is PodFarm. It gives you genuine models for a lot of guitar and bass amps, effects, processors, and more, as well as serves as the main hub for switching channels on the UX2 device itself. PodFarm universally also works with all of Line 6's audio interfaces. Now, you can do this with DAWs using plugins. You can probably also do this a lot better using plugins because you can get plugins from manufacturers that you trust and know. But having PodFarm in between the audio interface and the DAW allows you to get all these effects and chains preset for any desired tone that you want, and you can take it to any DAW that you want to take it to. So if you use Logic and you want a bass tone that you really like, you can record using what you saved on PodFarm, and then if you run over your UX to your buddy's house and he's using Pro Tools, you can fire up the PodFarm software again, and you can pull up all the same effects and noises that you got on Logic, and you can record on there. Now, of course, you don't have to use PodFarm. You can set it once and forget it. You can plug in your UX2, and every single time you get your DAWs, you recognize it. You don't actually have to double-click on PodFarm to start it. But if you want to switch from the 1/4-inch jack to the XLR, or you want to switch, the channels or something like that, then you're probably going to have to open PodFarm. There's no other way to do it. Now, this can cause an annoyance. One major annoyance, for example, is the fact that on PodFarm, I can see that there are 2 channels that are available to me. I can see that there are 2 faders that are available to me, but there is no way that I can get those 2 channels to actually be active. In fact, I can't get the second channel to work at all. I could never get the second channel to work. Now, I haven't tried an XLR and a 1/4-inch input because I'm not a singer-songwriter with an acoustic guitar or anything like that, so that might activate it, but it makes it completely useless for me. Now, like I said, you don't actually have to use PodFarm. You can set it up once and then forget it after that. The features outside of the software still makes the UX2 competitive against interfaces in its price range, but the hardware itself does have some drawbacks as well. First and foremost is the build quality. While it has physically lasted through the years, the build quality compared to other interfaces around the same price is almost a joke. I say this because it's made out of plastic and it screams that it's a beginner's device. It lacks a certain elegance that most of the other interfaces have. Now, this is something of an opinion, and of course it doesn't really affect much of the function of the device, but when you have a giant picture of a guitar where the input jack is, or a picture of a microphone where the XLR inputs are, it kind of makes a little bit of a condescending draw, even though it's supposed to help people and it is a good indication of what you're supposed to do with the device. Despite all of this, the main function and the features of the UX2 have been able to hold it up in the world of audio recording and in my personal studio rig for a very long time. For me, this ended about a month ago. Now, before I go on, I will say now, I do not think any of this is Line 6's fault, and I think they're a great company with great products. Also, they're not paying me to say this, nor do they sponsor me in any way. That being said, a few weeks ago, I upgraded my iMac, which is my main recording computer, to the latest OS, El Capitan. All my software was nicely compatible with the new software, and for the most part, my hardware. My UX2, which is recognized on my Mac as well as Logic as an interface, just didn't seem to read a signal on the instrument input. Not only do I have this problem in my DAW, but PodFarm itself won't get any signal on my instrument channel, even if I have it confirmed and switched to it. I've tried guitars, basses, different cables, you name it. I've determined this is not a software issue because my iMac as well as Logic Pro does recognize the interface. I also get my studio monitors to make some sort of faint static noise when I plug and unplug, but right after it makes that brief noise, it just doesn't have any sound whatsoever. I haven't tested the XLRs, but if the instrument input doesn't work, then I don't have any use for the device. My main microphone is a USB microphone, and I mainly use the the UX2 for its 1/4 inch input. It is quite possible this is a firmware issue, but I just don't have the time to wait and see. So I've been back in the market for a new audio interface. After knowing about Focusrite for years, I decided to purchase a Scarlett 2i2, which is popularly known as a reliable, hassle-free USB audio interface with exceptional build quality. Again, I do not put any blame on Line 6 themselves. My UX2 is older and has been through a lot. I've moved it around, I've taken it to various home studios, I have traveled with it, and it's held up quite nicely. And PodFarm, the software that came with it alone, is worth it to check out some of the Line 6 audio units. PodFarm as a modeling software is phenomenal. It is not something that you want to throw off to the side. It's a full-featured modeling software that you can use as your main guitar or bass tone, or even your main microphone preamp before you go into your DAW, and actually have that as your only plugin and still sound fantastic. Now, because of this, I could have just gone to Line 6 and possibly gotten another UX2 or something else from Line 6. It would have made it a lot easier for me to move to another interface because I kind of had all the software on my computer. My choice in Focusrite was simply based on a desire for something new entirely, and the fact that I'm not tied to any one brand just yet. Now, assuming the 1/4 inch input was still functioning on the UX2, it would be a great comparison to the Scarlett. The UX2 technically has more features, as it has more outputs than the Scarlett does, and also the Scarlett doesn't come with all the software the UX2 came with. It does come with very useful plugins like a compressor and Ableton Lite. The UX2 came with a lot more DAWs. Both of them also take 1/4 inch inputs as well as XLR. To my knowledge, after testing, the UX2 does not allow you to run 2 channels, as in one XLR and one 1/4 inch input at the same time, while the Scarlett does. The UX2 does have the ability, however, to run 2 microphones, 2 XLR microphones, into the device at the same time for a stereo type of sound. Now, this is very useful for a lot of people. I'm not included in that. I do not need more than one XLR input. I would prefer more than one 1/4 inch input, but that is a feature on the UX2 which does give it a firm advantage as well. That being said, it is not a contrast to the Scarlett, as you can do the same exact thing on a Scarlett. You can run an XLR into one and an XLR into 2, and it has 2 separate microphone preamps so that you can get a decent stereo sound. So in conclusion, this is going to serve as my update to my popular Line 6 UX2 video, and I'll be doing a small review of the Scarlett in the coming weeks. If you guys have any questions, you know where to find me. Remember to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.